Happy new moon in Scorpio on November 7, 2018, Collective Consciousness. Today is a time to celebrate and to live. This Practical Magic podcast is all about how do we use our transformation tools for our creativity and for cultivating safety and aliveness in our body and in our everyday life of magic. Now, practical magic to me has always been about how do we change our perspective of our situation? How do we shift our consciousness from that which is dormant to that which is alive and active and participating and co-creating with the world? So with this new moon in Scorpio, it's really looking at what are the habits and subconscious beliefs stuck in our emotional body that has kept us from doing what we need to do. We know what to do. A lot of people going around maybe feeling they're confused or they have all these different options. Well, that's because they're not in their body. And the more that we're capable of listening to what the body, to what the soul is guiding us to do, then we don't have those places of crossroads and confusions that overwhelm us. Obviously, choices need to be made every day. We are constantly faced with crossroads, but when we stop, tune in, and listen, so Scorpio is always about listening, deepening, and strengthening those deep, vulnerable places within us. Vulnerability is how we gain access to our true power. We've basically had a misinterpretation of what power truly means. Often our patriarchal centuries of consciousness has shown that when we have power over others is when we are powerful. But the only self that we can have power over is the self. So is your personal self. And when you embody your power, then you allow others to embody their own power. So this is the energy of Scorpio. And today I wanted to do a little tarot reading and unicorn magic to help guide us during this next lunar cycle. Now, November is a game changer. There's lots of things happening. So we had Uranus, which had moved into Taurus back in May, moved back into Aries for just a quick while for us to remember what we need to heal in our own hero story in order to really get back into a place of transformation for the rest of the world. And it's interesting that for a long time that Chiron has been in Aries, and I noticed how everyone has been on their own solo healing journey and feeling as if maybe, this can be seen as maybe people being more selfish than usual or not reaching out or spending time. And that Aries energy is always about the power of the will, power of how can I get back into my own instincts? How can I overcome my own fears? With the self, they often don't want to reach out for help because they feel and know that it cultivates through them. And now Chiron is in Pisces, and I feel like now everyone's kind of coming together and like, whoa, do you feel that wound? Oh yeah, I feel that wound. Oh right, because we're all one and collective. Pisces also, though, really wants to play the victim to their circumstance. Just because, oh my goodness, they have so much power and strength, but sometimes they just need to be reminded. And that victimhood is actually on the path. So again, what I was speaking about Scorpio, about needing to go into that deep vulnerability. And this is what Pisces truly is. Pisces is vulnerable. It is the last zodiac sign, and it is all water, connected to Neptune, the world of our imaginational realm. It's vulnerable in the physical world. If you notice Pisces or know Pisces, they are dominant when they are living in their imaginational world, where they are playful and lighthearted. But when they have to go out and be serious, when they have to go out and make the self valuable to the world, to the physical world, it can seem like a chaotic mess. But it's only because they're so sensitive, so vulnerable to this physical matter that often it can feels like a victim, that you just become so victimized by the physical world. But they know they have more than enough strength and more than enough ability and healing powers to really call back their power. So we are now kind of coming back to this collective, the collective wound. So Chiron is always about our wound, but since we're in Pisces, we're looking at the subconscious wounds of the collective. So old belief systems that, for example, that humans are broken, that we are disconnected from spirit, that religion and all these things are the only way to God and heaven, that there is a hell. Now, I want to remind us that way before Christianity, way before any sort of religion, there was the pagans, there was the ancient people of magic. And even before then, the Egyptians. There's so much that this world has always known and that we are simply remembering. And I want to remind us that there was never a devil. Witches, no, they don't believe in a devil. They don't believe in a dark force that determines their fate. They believe in the goddess. They believe in the gods. They believe in nature. And they work with nature. We were more connected with nature and in balance then than we are now, regardless of our technology and our information and all the things that we think we know. Yet here we are needing to reveal the truth about where we were born. And we were born for magic, dear ones. So let's reframe, regain, and remember that place. And this is what this collective wound is about. And so now that Uranus has moved back into Aries, we have to go back into our own self, all the trauma and all the, those core beliefs that we were cultivating as our foundation. So things are going to get shaken up. We're going to have revelations and revolutions occurring both internally and out in the world. See this. We can see transits happening in society, in news, in our history. It's all there and it's all relevant. And so now, also, during this new moon energy, we're going to have Jupiter, which has been in Scorpio for the past 18 months, move into Sagittarius, which is all about returning back to our optimism, returning back to a faith that is beyond even our comprehension, and that we're going to have a new foundation of hope and faith. And often this is time when poets and philosophers and spiritual leaders come to focus, and we start looking at a new path, a new life that we can live. So I digress. So much is moving in this November month, just simply even within this week and within this new moon Scorpio. So I did a tarot reading for the next lunar cycle. And so this shows the energy from November 7th to November 23rd until the full moon in Gemini. And the overall energy of this lunar cycle is Eight of Wands. And Eight of Wands is always about changing our psychic energy. It looks at like, okay, so I have a creative project and I need to go out and market. I need to show it to this person, this person, this person, this person, and I need to access all these different doorways. And so there's a lot of like forced, powerful energy moving towards goals, dreams, projects. But it can also feel a bit forced and sometimes a bit chaotic, because it's like instead of okay, I have a project and then I'm delivering it to this one client, that's just one direct energy line. But if you're like, okay, I have this project, who wants to work with me on it? And you reach out to all these different people or companies, it just seems you feel like your energy is just kind of in a lot of different places instead of singularly focused. And this is just the time of networking. This is the time of expansion. And that's what happens during expansion. We get very big, large, and then we need to come back down. And once someone eventually will say a yes, and then that's where the direct line and energy goes back towards. Now, the conflict for this month, I regret to say, is 3 of Discs, which is trying to get paid well for the work that you do. So, working in the field of self-development and what people call spirituality, I just call it self-development. That spirit is like, of course, already involved in everything that you do. So, yet the world, the patriarchal world, still doesn't see the true value of spirit, the true value of working with your energy and doing all these things, because it doesn't have this like physical proof. And this is still kind of being stuck in the scientific mind or the physical 3D dimension. And wow, there's so much more going on beyond that, beyond us, beyond this. And when we're opening, so November is so much about really connecting and moving through those portals of consciousness, expansion, wanting to have more meaning in the work that you're doing, not just like meaning as in getting paid more, but like, am I really making an impact with what I do with my everyday life? No, how do I do it? I need to save the world, or I need to help the animals, or I need to save trees. What is it that you can do? And there's kind of this spiritual meaning that needs to happen in the work. Yet again, trying to find a place or people that value that work in order to get paid well for it. And here's the key. Even though we have not quite seen a good role model or a system or, the actual way towards financial abundance for the spiritual community, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that it's being cultivated right now. And perhaps instead of being frustrated and saying it's never going to happen, say yes to it and ask for guidance on how it can happen and what part that you can play. So, and the most important part of this path is you saying, I value this work. This work is more important to me than you fill in the blank. And you start having a better practice with your spiritual knowing and your value system so that you can attract people that are wanting to have this experience and wanting to pay well for it. Now, by the full moon in Gemini, we have reverse Ace of Discs. So I'm sure during this powerful new moon, people will be making their wishes. They will be making we feel powerful. We feel as if we can accomplish anything. Or you may feel the complete opposite, the disempowerment. I can't do anything, right? Scorpio is very life, like all or nothing, life or death. But I always want to remind everyone, death is about transformation. It's not about like the physical actually dying. It's about the physical life changing to a more integrated life with spirit. That's transformation. So when we're looking at reverse Ace of Discs, you know, what we want and expect and plan sometimes doesn't happen the way we want it to. There's some movie where someone was talking to God and, you know, like, well, I had plans. And God just laughed hysterically. You had plans. I have the plan. Now, whatever you want to, you know, the divine goddess, life force energy, whatever you want to consider God is, they have some design for us. And the more that we honor that and kind of surrender and let go of like how we think these goals and dreams should look or happen or arrive, let's just laugh at our own ridiculousness and knowing, you know what, I made my intentions, I set my goals, I'm making plans of action. Do your work and allow spirit, allow the divine to bless you when the time is right. And I often look in my transit chart and the charts of my clients, you know, sometimes there's just a block and we really just have to wait for our divine timing. Divine timing can be seen in astrology, and this is one of the greatest gifts of having this tool to access instead of feeling like you're punishing yourself, like all these old beliefs and all these old ways of thinking can be surrendered, can let go, because you're like, oh yeah, this is my transit and I'm learning about how to value money in the physical world and a spiritual body. Like, okay, cool. How am I going to do it? I don't know. How am I going to pay my bills? All right, well, let's just focus on that. So it's a really profound time to just know that, okay, I'm in this certain transit and I'm going to honor this transit. And I know that soon enough, I will have the wisdom that I know in order to invoke the next transit. So this new moon in Scorpio, it's going to give us this power and this focus to heal the wounds of the past. Past life regression therapy is a really amazing tool to use during new moons. You can get very deep into the past, deep into what needs to be healed. We also have our lunar nodes shifting this month, North Node Cancer. So it really is this whole next year about self-care, self-love. And this is really what Scorpio also demands of us, is that you need to take care of your vessel before you can be a vehicle for creative life force energy. So what do you want to do for yourself for this next 18 months? How are you going to cultivate self-love and self-acceptance in the next 18 months? So creating a self-care program will be the most powerful intention that you can do for this new moon, and looking at where you really want to give your creative life force energy and giving things time. Be patient. I know it's hard right now. Scorpio, and then we'll have Sagittarius energy. We all know the magic and all remember what it used to be like. With the flick of our wand, our hand, we were capable of manifesting our heart's desires. Well, now we're here to learn the physical work, my dears. So, the unicorn card that we have for this next new moon cycle, I am currently choosing right now is sanctuary. Take time out from the world, spend time alone, meditate, or go on retreat. That's what I would say. This is how we remember our magic when we go into this place of stillness. This is the perfect time because we are in winter, and winter is about going within and returning back to that inner light. It's not always about the darkness. It's about returning to that inner light within us that will guide us back when spring has arrived. So this is the energy for the new moon in Scorpio. If you would like to know where the new moon is affecting you personally, or would like me to design a special ritual for you, you can check out my website at www.inner-doorways.com or email me at innerdoorways@gmail.com. Until then, blessed, blessed, blessed be.